Hey everybody, welcome to our first episode of TDC Lounge. I'm your host, Tyson Garner. With me today is my co-host, Miss Desiree Gonzalez.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
And today's going to be a good day.
It is.
Today's our first
I
one.
can feel it.
So we're talking about Joffrey, the Joffrey Ballet School. Today they've been a huge support with us in our first episode of Teen Dance Challenge.
Yep.
They gave us about $50,000 in scholarships. So we really
Amazing.
appreciate that coming from them. But today we have our West Coast artistic director from Joffrey Ballet School, Miss Josie Walsh.
Hey.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome to TDC Lounge. So, like I said when we were talking earlier, you're kind of a big deal, right? You're kind of a big deal. So, I think we just would like to hear like where you started dancing, how'd you get started, and where you see you're going.
Okay, how I got
How
started?
you got started.
All right. Y'all got time?
We got
Okay.
plenty of time.
I started when I was 5. I
Oh.
was living in New York with my mother and my sister, and I was dancing around the living room. And my sister said, "Mom, Josie is dancing fancy." So she put me in tap class the very next day, and I cried and shuffled the entire time looking at her like, "What have you done?" And so she took me out of tap and put me in jazz, and I fell in love with jazz. And the teacher said if I wanted to be a serious dancer, I would have to take ballet 5 days a week. Mind you, I was 5 years old. It was I said, okay. And from that moment on, I had total clarity, unwavering clarity, pretty much from age 5, that I wanted to be a dancer. And it got pretty clear that it was ballet. But I love jazz. I took hip hop. I really love all forms of dance, but to really master ballet, I had to commit to that pretty 100% since it's the hardest.
It is.
And I call it the foundation of all dance. So I've been doing it my whole life.
It's awesome. It's weird that not weird, but it's typically ballerinas don't typically do hip hop or jazz or whatever. What drew you to those?
Oh, I mean, I'm a closet hip hop dancer to today. I mean, I keep it in the closet at this point because I'm not anonymous. But no, I mean, I love Fosse. I mean, if I could have sung, I probably would have done Broadway as well. I have a very theatrical family.
That's cool.
They're in show business themselves, and so I just all forms of art, but. No, I absolutely love jazz and hip hop. I actually think it's very important for ballet dancers to have a variety of training, also to interpret music. There's an emphasis that's very different. There's also a grounded emphasis in contemporary and hip hop and jazz and all those that support ballet. In fact, the down energy makes you a much more stronger classical dancer.
Totally.
So I teach full circle that way.
I think it helps let go a little bit too. Like most ballerinas I see, they're just very up. You know what I'm saying? Like just very. Their posture is amazing. But when they do hip hop, they need to learn to let go of that. I think, and I think it's really it helps them when they do ballet.
They need to understand how to use gravity, and I like to say that. I mean, we don't live on the moon. We have gravity here, and we need to sculpt it, shape it, carve it. And, the ballet syllabus, and this is what I teach, it's a filter. It's not to be uptight. It's a discipline, but it's really more of a filter. And literally, if I put a filter on a water faucet, the water has to flow through, but it passes through that discipline, that filter, and it comes out refined. When ballet is uptight and they can't move, that discipline has taken them on the wrong path as far as I'm concerned. And so when they take other forms of dance and it's a totally different filter, it helps open them up. The discipline is to refine them. It's literally like a fine-tuned instrument. Why is one violin $10,000 and another one is $100?
Right.
It is the internal structure and what the sound that passes through is either at a higher frequency or it's not. And that is fine-tuning. And to me, ballet is an opportunity to hone in your craft. I mean, when I teach, and I teach a very different type of ballet class, and I have a ton of hip-hop dancers. And every type of dancer that's not even a dancer who wants to be in a ballet company, because I teach sort of the common denominator of what ballet stands for. So, and it's not just an elitist art form that is associated a lot of times with ballet. It's really not. It's really your approach to it.
That's cool. It seems like, though, your thoughts on ballet are kind of a rebellious side of you, like we were talking about before, because I've met ballerinas and people who are really into ballet, and it seems like it's an elitist thing. What caused you to come up with that kind of outlook on ballet?
Just like anything, it's not the art form, it's what people do.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
So I love the art form, and I've dealt with the negative aspects of what people do at a high level in that art form, and went through a period of I don't like ballet. But it really wasn't ballet, it was what people do to it. And like anything, I mean, if you have a negative coach, it could be in sports or anything, then all of a sudden you say, I don't like that sport anymore. But it's not.
But because of your coach or someone else.
I mean, but in general, if you
itself.
look at the purity of the art form, dance is a universal language.
Totally is. Yeah.
It is. And learning a different, I mean, to me, dance is, the cup floweth over, whether it's ballet, hip hop, jazz. I mean, it's all an art form expressing through your body. I mean, that's your medium.
I think the evolution of dance has really, really changed. I think it really started with I'm going to say Mia Michaels kind of really changed it a while back, where you took hip hop and jazz and ballet and fused them together and made what we call now contemporary. And I feel like as a dancer that started off doing hip hop and jazz and then having to learn ballet to enhance my skills as a jazz dancer, I knew that, ballet wasn't for me, but I knew it was going to help, facilitate me being a dancer. But I always wanted to include everything. And I felt like, if you hold things back, they're good on their own, but when you merge things together, it becomes great. And I feel like right now dance is in a very good place in terms of creativity, because they're merging so many styles together. But like you said, ballet is the base. And if you can't hold your center, you can't really do contemporary, even if you tried,
It's the base if it's done with that intention, because I see a lot of dancers just pulling up and holding their body tight, and they are not connected to the ground. See, I teach full circle, and a lot of ballet focuses just here. But I became a much stronger classical dancer when I moved to Europe and started doing a lot of contemporary and a lot of floor work and a lot of grounded work, and all of a sudden my classical soared. I'm like, wow, because there it is. It's, the deeper the roots, the higher you're going to go. I'm focusing down and I'm going up in a different way. So it's full circle.
That's cool.
And it's also the chemistry of it all coming together. I mean, as a choreographer, I spent 10 years making a point of never working with ballet dancers to break free of my ballet shackles of here is the syllabus. In many ways, if I was, the generation of, convention kids and contemporary and hip hop and 45 minutes is 45, in many ways, they don't have the shackles of a set syllabus. They have a very much expanded awareness about all dance. And ballet is very, very clear syllabus, which is a beautiful thing, but it's also hindering. And I literally spent 10 years made a point of not working with ballet dancers. And then after 10 years, Los Angeles Ballet commissioned me to do a piece, which was interesting because it was with So You Think You Can Dance People. It was with Sonia Taya and Travis Wall and Mandy Moore. And it was interesting going back because I felt like I could bring something to that world. In fact, they said I could really relate to the dancers on point, where the other choreographers didn't really know what it took to be on point, and they didn't know how to translate. It was just do this, and the dancers struggled with that. So, I have a deep understanding from committing my life to that world.
So, you were pretty heavy into the ballet world. What was the first company you joined?
Joffrey.
Wow.
Yeah. Joffrey, and then I moved to Oregon Ballet Theater. Actually, a principal at Joffrey took over Oregon Ballet Theater and wanted that to be sort of.
And how old were you when you joined Joffrey?
18 was when I went into Joffrey 2 and started dancing with the company around 19, and then moved. I look at my path seem to, and maybe I'm restless in my spirit, but I've moved a lot. I've never just felt like, oh, good, I'm in one place, I just want to stay.
Totally.
And then from Oregon Ballet Theater, I really had a dream. I wanted to live and work in Europe. So I did. I moved to Europe. I traveled around, staying in youth hostels on the Eurorail by myself at a very young age, and then almost joined Dutch National, and then ended up taking it was a huge contract over at Zurich Ballet.
Cool.
And that really opened me up a different level. In Europe, there's a lot of rights and protection for dancers. You can't just fire them for any old reason. And they just seem to be less fearful and allowed to become adults in the company.
Did you dance better having that support?
Well, yeah. I mean, I dance better just also with wisdom and age and learning, and but just being around really strong individuals who know their rights, because the dance world, in the United States, you can feel like a dime a dozen, and there's always somebody ready to take your spot. And there's a level of protection in Europe that was contractually that I felt was very respectful, and you could see it in the artists. They're not kids on stage. They're really smart individuals. And I'm attracted to, even with my own company, Ballet Red, I'm really just attracted to strong individuals.
And when did you start Ballet Red?
I actually started it in '99, but it was under a different name.
You took it over from somebody else?
No, I changed the name.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, it was Mio Dance Company, or Mio Q at a time, and then I changed it to Ballet Red just last year.
And what was the
shift?
The shift.
Under Mio, I was really focusing on rock operas. It was very strongly an aerial dance company. And I had a lot of mixed. I had also actors, hip hop, contemporary, aerialists, and my husband's band, and he played on stilts. So it was very theatrical. We scouted by Cirque. I've had meetings with Cirque. I'm officially in their computer as one of their potential creators, which is a huge honor.
That's awesome.
Here I'm in a
That's
small,
amazing, right?
yeah,
so
I'm in
cool.
a small 285 seat theater in Los Angeles, thinking your friends and family are in the audience, but Cirque Scouts had been there for over 3 years watching, so that was an honor too, because you don't know. And we were doing that for a really long time, and we were successful with that. I just really started focusing on my contemporary ballet, and I didn't want to be associated with all of the aerial and all this stuff. And mind you, I was doing aerial before it was
Aerial.
and it was like aerial go-go in every bar where somebody learns a simple lift. And so I just sort of grew out of that. I won't say grow out of it. I just sort of moved on into my more contemporary ballet, and I felt like I wanted a new name, new energy, and I just changed the name to Ballet Red, and I don't do so much the aerial aspect.
Did your whole company change? did you have to get new people?
I've always, yes, but not because of the name change. I mean, I've had, it's very project-based in Los Angeles. It's hard to have something consistent with solid funding, like a contract of a company. So it's project-based anyway. And I had a core group of dancers, but, that would change over the years just organically,
Right.
Well,
everyone's everyone's doing so much all the time.
I still have the same core people in my life, though. I mean, we're very close, and there's synergy. And when it comes to ballet, and when it comes to point, and that's why you don't see it on So You Think You Can Dance as a regular category. You can't fake it.
No.
You can fake contemporary.
Not at all.
Yeah,
you can fake hip hop. You can get by.
Well,
but you
contemporary
can't
is
with ballet.
an artistic thing, I feel like. So anything you really do, if you're confident in it, you can kind of pull it off. Whereas
You can.
ballet, or a point,
Point for sure.
Well, it's unforgiving. I mean, and it's an aesthetic that
and it's held at such a high level.
Right.
I feel like if you're not on that level,
which is
and
something
it's
I
dangerous at the same time.
Right.
You could hurt yourself.
I had just decided that with my background and with what I do, and my choreography is very contemporary, but if I really just focus on really my specialty and my background and do it on point, it's going to stand out, because that's really what I've dedicated my life to. And I didn't want it to just be contemporary, because I actually have dancers who can transcend all that contemporary work on point. So I really just focused Ballet Red to that. And yet it's very contemporary.
Yeah.
And recently you guys did a piece at Cal State University of Northridge, right?
Yeah.
And
That
can you
was-
talk a
yeah.
little bit about that?
That was a commission from Valley Performing Arts Center and the Ford Amphitheater. They had seen Ballet Red at the Broad in November, and I've been in talks with the Ford for a few things. So it was a great honor because it was with Spanish Harlem Orchestra, which is 2-time Grammy-winning Latin jazz band that is currently doing the Gloria Estefan Broadway show
Yeah,
right now.
Their stuff is. I was just in New York, and
They're
their
off
stuff
the
is
hook.
all over the place. Yeah, it's
They're
incredible.
completely
yeah.
off the hook.
Yeah, it's so good.
And I like collaboration. I like ballet a little left of center. Fine, give me a salsa band. I put a girl in one salsa shoe and a point shoe and
Sick.
said she represents those two worlds.
That's really
And-
cool.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. So it was a really dynamic fusion. It's always a challenge. The musicians flew in the night before. Are they going to play on tempo? Are they going to improvise and go mad? And when I have a really strong ending, is the music going to end? I mean, there's all that.
Yeah.
That makes me nervous wreck sometimes. But it turned out better than
That's amazing.
I could imagine.
So now that you're involved with Joffrey Ballet School, or actually, how long have you been involved with Joffrey Ballet School?
This will be my 4th year.
Okay.
I mean, I went to the school when I was 14.
Right.
I mean, I and the company. I mean, for me, it's very full circle.
That's cool.
It's like going home, which
Right.
feels like it's meant to be. But as far as in my position with Joffrey, as far as an artistic director and teaching all that's going on my 4th year.
Mm-hmm. And so when you go into preparation for the summer, A, what are you looking for in dancers at these auditions? And B, like, what do you want somebody who goes to a Joffrey Ballet summer intensive to come away with?
It's really important to me when I design a program to have, a brilliant faculty that has a variety of things to offer, and that they are also not only great teachers, that I'm looking for mentors and people who empower people. I'm not old school, like negative input is going to make somebody work harder. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that magazine at all. So I'm very, very, very careful about my faculty, and I have incredible feedback about that as well. Like, kids are usually like in tears at the end, like not wanting to leave. Parents coming up to me, thanking me, like, she was so afraid to come and now she doesn't want to leave. And my thing is to empower kids, because being a dancer, being a performing artist, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, criticize me. Let's look in a
Totally.
mirror
Yeah.
in a leotard and
it's hard.
tights.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already a warrior as is. And so, and it's a very hard art form, but I teach the love of learning, which is a lifelong process. The technique, the artistry, but it's beyond the technique.
It is, you're right.
It's life lessons. For me, dance has always been a metaphor in my life as a human being. And I instill that. I mean, these programs are an extension of my beliefs because of the and my love for the art form, my respect for these kids, for their families that, support them, So I try to create in a really nurturing, empowering environment that is also strict and challenging and, a place where if you want to achieve anything in life is necessary.
Well, coming from a place, and I know you're auditioning a lot now, I feel like not teaching kids how to audition, but like you probably see thousands of kids who come to the auditions, right? What is it that you're looking for, or what stands out to you that
what catches your eye?
Yeah.
Like, what are you like? Okay, I like her.
Focus.
Focus.
When kids are there and they're really focused, you see at all different levels, all different ages, all different physical talent. But when they come in and you see that clarity in their eye and that desire to
Their
learn,
want to
yeah.
get better.
Yeah, Joffrey's an educational program. Joffrey's very progressive. Joffrey doesn't just choose the perfect body.
Right.
They've always been at the forefront and much more progressive, and I have always resonated with that. I've been to every major ballet school growing up, and Joffrey, to me, felt like the place where I resonated with its fundamental truths. So there's a real fit with what I believe and what Joffrey believes. And so at an audition, I go in there and I tell them, treat this like a master class. I'm looking for kids who can absorb information, who are open enough, who can actually apply corrections, and to let go of any fear. I'm not judging them.
Right.
I'm, and to really get them in a mindset that is open. I mean, we're an educational institution, first and foremost.
I remember when I started auditioning, I had a kind of a mentor who was in the business at the same time. And I remember him telling me, like, excuse me, that when you've been sitting there for a couple hours as a producer, or director, or choreographer, you want that person coming in to be the right person for the job. You want, you're like hoping they're the right person.
That's right.
And if you come at that as a dancer from that aspect, like coming from that point of view, it's so much easier because you're like, oh, they're on my team. They're not here judging me, hoping I do bad. They're here hoping I do well.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like once somebody jumps from being a studio dancer, or they're at their own studio, or they go to a company or whatever, they forget that everybody's here to dance. And even if you're going to a higher platform, onto a professional job, or you're going to be on some team, or whatever the case may be, it's still dance. You still got to point your feet. You still got to go to rally. You still got to do all the things that you did at this other platform. So I feel like that's the one thing, especially for this program, is I want to get the message out to young dancers that, like, that's great that you have a lot of followers. That's great that you've won competitions, but you want to now move on to do something else. Don't lose that respect that you had for it once that first moment. I probably want to ask you guys this too. Do you remember when the first time you were like, I love this, I'm gonna do this forever? Like, really truly remember that moment where you're like, this is great, dancing is awesome, I'm gonna do this forever? Do you remember that?
Yes, I was 14, I think, and I was not the greatest dancer before that point. And competition, I was only in like 3 dances. And then one year, I just worked so hard, and I don't know, I dedicated myself so much. And then the next year I was like, boom, making everything. And like, I just grew so much. And I think it was the point where I like found myself. Like, I knew I wasn't going to always be flexible or like the most beautiful technique, but I like found myself, and I was like, okay, this is me, and this is how I'm going to do this. And I broke out, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I'm ready.
You're in.
Yeah. Like, I just fell in love with it.
What about you?
When I was 5.
Really?
Yeah, with really unwavering focus. It wasn't an easy path by all means.
Doesn't seem like ballet is an easy path.
No, I mean, I had a lot of injuries. I actually broke my back when I was 16, and I was paralyzed.
What?
Yeah. And they told me that I would never go pro. And I was like, well, there's that wonderful rebellious streak in me.
Exactly.
But I was very quietly rebellious, which it was like, no, nobody tells me that. And I'll heal my back. And I found alternative ways. I wore my full body cast. And I learned something very vital during that time, since I didn't have my body, is I did class in my head every day. And for 90 minutes without fail, while I was working in a restaurant with a full cast on, I could move my arms and legs. And then I would figure out where I was off on my turns, and wow, my rhythm's off on my left side in my head. How interesting. No wonder why I can't do it in my body. And so I started training every day without fail. I didn't have my body, but I had my mind. And I came back 9 million times better than I could have ever been prior, where people didn't even understand. They made jokes, oh, you just have to break your back and you come back. Like, they would say things, and I went on to have a career, and I learned a lot about my mind. I choreograph in my head. I don't mind the endless traffic here because my car is now my studio.
That's
because
sick.
I have my mind. It's only the first draft of it. I still need that.
That's the best stuff, though.
Everything strengthened my resolve. All the obstacles, it only strengthened my resolve. It did not. In fact, I never had a backup plan, which always scared me. I would see people who liked other things, had other interests, and zero. I mean, I had zero backup plan. I couldn't imagine doing anything else, which, could also make you feel desperate.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
It's how to temper that where it's not.
But I feel like a while back I saw this. It was on YouTube. Matt, if you could find that, I would love to hear that. This link. Michael Jordan did his speech when he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And apparently he was one of the most fierce competitors that ever been in the NBA. And he spoke about, and he basically thanked everybody who people thought were his enemies. But he said, thank you for telling me I wasn't going to make it. Thank you for being hard on me, because I used that as like fuel to push me forward. Yeah, all the times that you didn't appreciate what I did, all the times you said I wasn't going to make it, all the times you said, oh yeah, you're done, you can't dance anymore. Thank you for those moments. And I feel like those are those times when people say, oh, you can't do it. I feel like those are the moments that make you push. And if you quit when someone does that, you shouldn't have been doing it in the first place.
That's anything with dance. I feel like auditions all the time. No, don't say thank you. And you're like, okay, it's fine. I'm going to come back and do it again. Like, you don't stop. I feel like it's just like, why would I stop dancing because one person told me no for one job?
That's in every industry, though. And I think we're all sort of, in the very esoteric way, angels for each other.
Totally.
I mean, you can label that good or bad, but it sets you on a course, And mind you, like, I've had a lot of you can't, And yes, I'm rebellious in my nature, but I wasn't doing it just to be rebellious. I had a single passion.
You had a passion, yeah.
And that's the difference. It wasn't, but if somebody's not rebellious in their nature and they're super vulnerable and open, that kind of input could actually make them believe that. And that's why I do not, in fact, when kids ask me, what should I do? I never just tell them. I ask them questions, and they end up telling me what they want to do.
Do you feel like they already know the answer?
Well, that's the thing. It's not really my place to tell them. I don't know their life path and what is meant for them. I have a conversation with them. We talk about what their desires are, and then it becomes apparent. And I go, do you see what you just said? And they're like, wow, okay.
Wow.
And not only just that, they have clarity. It's not Josie said, I mean, what's right for me and for someone else, I who am I to say? And in my position as a teacher, I take that, it's a great responsibility because I can affect people's lives, and I take that very seriously, and I'm very respectful and empowering of their decisions, and that's my approach.
I have a friend. She's a ballet teacher. She's a really good friend. She taught at our studio too. You might know her. Her name's Rebecca Thompson. And I remember her telling me that, and I'll never forget this, she told me that in ballet class is the one place that you can't hide your, not body flaws, but if your hips are out or your shoulders are out, or you have attention deficit disorder, or you can't pay attention, like it all comes out at the bar. Do you find that, or do you see that?
Well, I could see how she would say that. It's not that it comes out in the bar, it's that you don't have a bunch of hard-hitting music and choreography to mask anything. It's a simplicity. So within that simplicity of ballet, and also not wearing a bunch of junk, and it's all exposing and revealing of, wow, I need to focus on this thing, and there's nothing around me that's going to mask that. And that's the beauty of it, is finding that and honing in on that. So, if you get distracted by something else and you never really fully realize what you need to be working on at that moment because you're being pulled in many different directions in a different class, ballet is the place, and I say that too, this is the place to really focus on refining in your body. Think of it like clay, and you're the sculptor, and you're chipping away, and you're a work of art that you're chipping away at every day. And then that focus that you spend in your ballet class, then you take that into your other classes. You don't reserve it just for ballet.
Totally. Right? Well, we have a pretty good partnership with Joffrey, and we really appreciate what they do for us. So we thought for our first TDC Lounge episode that we would help them out. So what we're going to do is we are going to read off some names of some essay winners. Joffrey made a little contest for, I guess it's not a little contest, it's a big contest because you're getting a pretty big scholarship to go to a summer intensive. And I think sitting here speaking with you, I think that would be great to go to a West Coast one because it seems like you put a lot of effort into it. So I'm going to read off a few of the names and then we'll keep talking a little bit more and we'll read off some more. But we want to say congratulations to some of these kids. Darius Marshall, Alabama. Kamilah Abubakar, New York. Amani Holloway, Virginia. Emily Salo, California. Caitlin Brady, New Jersey. Jaida Ocasio, Pennsylvania. Frankie Gioino, Georgia. Second. So, I think I have a couple questions. Well, after I was doing some research and you sent me a link, you worked with Sammy Hagar. How did that all come about, and how was it working, and what did what did that entail?
I got invited to choreograph on this international gala in Cabo. It's called Gala de Danza. The founder, Christina Lyon, used to be with American Ballet Theater, and she brings in world-class artists from the Mariinsky Theater to ABT, New York City Ballet. She also is a champion in ballroom after she hung up her pointe shoes. So she brings in Latin ballroom dancers, the top in the world. And she's also been bringing in some contemporary kids and partnered up with YGP. She brings in chosen finalists there. So this is her 4th year in Cabo doing this gala, which is the most spectacular, really it is. And she invited me a couple of years ago to create a piece, and she really liked it and invited me again to create a piece. And then in conversation, she was like, oh, it's so exciting. We've commissioned Sammy Hagar. He's Mr. Cabo Wabo. I don't know if you know, but he owns a club in Cabo. I mean, he's very, And for many who don't, Sammy Hagar was with Van Halen, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, how great, not thinking that I was choreographing. That was like, I didn't know she meant for me. So she was like, yes, it's great, and you're choreographing a piece with him. And I'm like, wow, okay. What's the music? Who's the dancers, And she said, it's Dreams. Here's the music. And you're working with Beck-Ann Sisk, who's a principal with Ballet West, and Fabrice Kamels, who's a principal with Joffrey. And you basically have 4 days to create it. They're all flying into Cabo, and call it a day and put it on stage.
Wow.
4 days. Lovely.
And was it what kind of band? Was it a full band or what was it?
He brought in his guitarist, and it was him and his guitarist, and he was singing and playing live over pre-record. So he didn't bring in his whole band. And I finished the piece in 2 days because there was a hurricane coming in. Wow. So as I'm in the studio rehearsing, they're like boarding the windows up and I'm thinking, good Lord here, So we finished early, and then the hurricane didn't happen. It turned into a tropical storm, and we got to continue rehearsing. I loved it because my background with Mio is with a rock band. My husband's a composer. I love working with musicians. I love the synergy of that. And even though it's a finished song, live music has so much energy in it. Totally. And he was really touched. I mean, he was really like, wow, because it's putting movement and a whole story to his lyrics. So it takes his lyrics to a new
You see what you're
level.
hearing. Yeah, it's awesome.
You absolutely see. You see the song. You see his story.
I love that. Yeah, it's awesome.
And he was really moved, and he was wonderful. He was so sweet, and it was funny because you'd see these prima ballerinas from Mariinsky walking by, and he would be like, "You're all working too hard," and everybody was very serious, and he was like, rock star mode, and
wasn't used to it.
No, and it was fun to have him. It's super dynamic, and it's also very important, and this is something that I've always stood for with ballet, is collaborating with a rock star. I mean, he's Hall of Legend
He's a rock star, yeah, for sure.
And different forms of music, different mediums, fashion designers, different venues. is how ballet will continue to evolve and stay current with a younger demographic, which is very important to me, that it's not a dying art form or only the classics where like what are a new choreographer's voice? What are they saying? You know, the classics should and will always be there, but it should also be progressive and evolving, just like the contemporary world and the conventional world. So for me, it brings a much wider audience. People who were coming to see Sammy all of a sudden didn't realize that they liked ballet, or that ballet could be accessible. Could translate over. And it's very different than what a lot of people who don't know ballet have some preconceived idea that ballet is just Swan Lake.
Yes, for sure.
You know, and it's really not.
There's so much more. And they're when you see a ballerina, because most of my life I've worked with, you know, hip hop dancers or jazz dancers or contemporary dancers, but in the past 5 years I've worked with a number of ballerinas, and it's a joy to work with them, not only because, but a big reason why is they dance in a way that you see exactly what you said. Like if I choreograph something, it's exactly classically what I wanted to see. And they are so focused on making it correct
and perfect.
And as a choreographer, you appreciate that. But then there's the moments where you want to say that it doesn't have to be perfect. So as a choreographer, I had to say, it's not, I got to find a happy medium. I got to bring out what they can give me, but I got to give them something. So, but the attention to detail and the attention to making it something more than just doing a dégagé or doing a tendu or holding a pose. Like they spend so much time to make it look right. And I really, really appreciated that for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to get back into naming some of these new scholarship winners. Alexandra Brizel, New York. Perris Amento, California. Leanna Wang, California. Laurel Blair, Idaho. Peyton Harville, Louisiana. Juliana Lamia, California. Julia Ruckert, California. Claire Herzog, Wyoming. Harry Peterson, California. Madison Pineda, Missouri. Zuri Archer, Washington. Veronica Magolon, Ontario, Canada. Sophie Shapiro, Nevada. Emily Singer, Oregon. And Marcus Sarjeant, California. So this year, if somebody's coming to the Joffrey Ballet intensives, summer intensive, what should they be looking for? What do you want them to? Well, first off, let me ask: when they get there, how do you want them, or what do you want them to feel when they're walking in? What's the goal? What's their goal for them once they're getting to the?
I want them to come open and not like they have to prove something.
Got it.
I say pretty much in our orientation meeting, this is not a competition. They're all here, they're all welcome, and I encourage them to just embrace the learning process, be willing to try new things, to, look bad in order to look, to break boundaries. I think a lot of times kids just want to do what they do well.
Right.
Which
because they're comfortable.
Yes. They're comfortable.
Yes.
They
want to put their best foot forward.
They get praised. They get praised for that.
God, Josie Walsh is here.
No, and what I try to do is create an environment of growth, and growth means being Bambi on ice at times. Okay, so and I also encourage them to.
I owe you $20 because I'm going to use that.
I'm
going to use that for sure.
I encourage them also to journal. That they're going to get a lot of information from my faculty. A wealth of information that is beyond just
steps.
The steps.
Yeah.
And I said that, and a lot of it's going to be in the periphery, and it's going to be hard to assimilate all that at once because there's a lot of information coming to you in an intensive every day, boom, and they're not going to be able to process all of that during the intensive.
Right.
And it's usually when they leave and they're at their studios. So I encourage them greatly to journal, and that they will continue to learn throughout the year and remember things that, now that makes sense to me. So I just create an environment of growth and taking chances, and it has to be a safe environment for that to happen. And that's what I try to do.
I love going to like conventions or intensives, and like anything a teacher says, like you hear it there, and then you go home and you sleep, or you're sleeping at night and you're like, wow, like that like can really help me like in another class, or like just in general, like how you take class, or what you're thinking while you're taking class. I really like that. I love when people do that. I love when teachers do that.
Speaking of conventions, aren't you now on a new convention?
I am. Art of Movement.
Yes, Art of Movement with my friend, Mr. Robert Lee. Speaking with him and talking to him, and your staff is amazing. Well, I think having you as in charge of the ballet is really going to help, because you see it you're not trying to create ballerinas because you realize, hey, I'm not going to make a ballerina in an hour of class.
But not everybody wants to be.
Exactly. But you
ballet,
appreciate that, though. And there's some people out there that don't appreciate that. They think you either do ballet or you do a jazz school. Like there's this separation. And I don't want that anymore. I would love to see, and I love that you enjoy merging the two of them together. It just makes for a very creative platform.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Yeah. I enjoy convention. I enjoy Robert's point of view. It's very similar. When he asked me, I said, I would do convention with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done all of them. So I really enjoyed his approach in general. We share sort of the same, everybody on that convention is very mature, and it's just, it's a great message.
Yeah.
And it's beyond competition. It is about, once again, creating an environment to learn. And that gets lost in the competition world. I mean, there's a balance. I love competition. I believe in competition.
Yeah.
Because when people go out to audition for a job, there's only one person who's going to get that job. So if you're raised saying there's no competition, everybody gets the same, that's a disservice.
Yes.
So I believe in competition. But I also, once again, it's how you approach it. It's what you're, So I share those values.
That's good. And he's such a good, him and his wife are such great people.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that competition and convention is going to really, really flourish, only, like you said, because of his viewpoint and the way he goes about it. And I feel like he's going to do a really, really good thing for the industry, because it's a different way of looking at it, especially when they come to your ballet classes. People are going to love it, and they're going to see that ballet can be a help to your dance, not, I don't want to go take ballet. It becomes now, well, you're actually seeing it now. You're seeing competition. Well, you work with Kennedy Callis. You see it. She was a comp girl before, and now she said, I want to do this. And because it was safe, A, and B, it wasn't stifling. It was like, let's take everything that you've done now, and now let's just enhance it even more. And I feel like more and more girls are doing it. Sophia Lucia's doing it. And like, even you worked with Chloe East. Like, people are starting to gravitate to what you have to offer, because it can only make your dancing better. Only make your dancing better.
I mean, I push for excellence. I'm very demanding. I push. My classes are hard, my choreography is hard, but it's done in such a way and a sensitivity of when, it's a fine line, and there's no two student alike. I mean, it's very tailored to each person, I mean, I've worked extensively with Kennedy now, but choreographically outside of the dance studio, but just to see her, really choosing ballet. She's committing to ballet right now. Which I said to her, get the keys to the castle. You got the other. Get the keys to the castle. The cup floweth over. And, she's made that decision on her own, but through positive, reinforcement.
Well, whatever medicine you gave her created something, because she's incredible.
Well, she's born with,
you did something.
Natural,
like, she was good, and, well, she wasn't good. She was incredible. And then now you just really just pushed it forward. So I think it's, you did a great job. So speaking of students, let's do our last bit of students. Sydney James from Texas, Isabella Kolstad, Virginia, Laila Mackay-Williams, Western Australia, Morgan Goodfellow, Washington, Sherry Wu, Alabama, Summer McNeill, Georgia, Georgie Ingram, New Hampshire, and Melissa Constantine. Now, is there an international summer intensives, or are they all local?
Yeah, no, there's smaller ones. There's one in Florence, Italy. There's
really?
Yeah.
That would be awesome to go there. That'd be sick.
I know. It's like I think the parents too are like, oh, honey, did you want
You're
to do the
gonna
Florence one? I do believe no scholarships are valid in the international.
Just
ones.
the domestic ones, correct?
Yeah. FYI.
You're right. Yeah.
There's one in Russia.
Oh wow.
Really?
Yeah. I think those two. It's I encourage people to go to the Joffrey website. It's an excellent website.
Yes.
JoffreyBalletSchool.com, because it's also constantly updating, and I'm always I make a point of looking at it because there's always new exciting things going up. So I encourage people.
So we'll put a link on the description for that too.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I think we're now going to be a part of the website as well.
That's
the
awesome.
Teen Dance Challenge, yeah. So I really am excited because I kind of want to announce it, but I want to make sure that you're in for season 2 of Teen Dance Challenge. We really, really want to make ballet the major part of the second season, and I feel like it's time for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to expose our fans to the whole other world of dance, which is YGP, Elite Dance Elite Dance Tournament, the Prix de la Somme, all these other competitions that no one really knows about from this side.
Yeah.
And start to merge the two together.
That's excellent.
And having you be a part of it would be fantastic, because I feel like your point of view is really what we're trying to say here at Teen Dance Challenge, is that let's merge everything together. Like, it doesn't have to be ballet, jazz, hip hop. Merge it all together. Are there, besides Kennedy, she's incredible, are there some girls out there that you're kind of a fan of, that you're like, hey, I like that girl, she's good?
I honestly, I see a lot of dancers that I'm like, wow, I really love their quality a lot, So, yeah, I mean, there are many. I don't even really want to name.
You know what I mean?
No, because I feel like I'd miss somebody, and then it would be taken
makes
wrong.
sense.
Because when I think about it, I'm getting like a plethora of names coming in and out, and
and everyone's so different too.
Well, they are.
And have different qualities that probably you love.
Yeah.
And I like seeing their background in their studios, whether it could be convention or whatnot, how it plays into, both programs are very different. Like Joffrey West in Los Angeles is under the jazz contemporary program. So there's hip hop and jazz and contemporary along with ballet and point. Whereas the San Francisco program, which I created that program from scratch, is under the ballet program, but it's very strong contemporary ballet. And I've a lot of choreographers coming in from Europe who are bringing a very European approach. And my whole point with that program was to create a program for contemporary dancers who want to go into the concert dance world, not commercial world, and ballet dancers, prepare them for the fact that very few companies are just doing classical rep.
Mm-hmm.
And they really need to be able to improv. They need to really understand contemporary if they're going to have a career.
That's awesome.
So San Francisco is a different focus from Los Angeles. Both of them have the same overall approach that I bring. They're both very, very strong programs. I have a lot of students do the last 3 weeks of Los Angeles so they can be in the performance, which is at the 1,700 seat Ballet Performing Arts Center, and it's completely gorgeous.
That's
It's
awesome.
a world-class performing arts center that, they'll do those last 3 weeks and then fly up to San Francisco and do the last 2 weeks of San Francisco, which puts them in the performance track. So a lot of times I'll be like, didn't I just see you in LA?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
A lot of them go from, because they have, and then a lot of them then will go to the New York programs because they all have a different overall feel and faculty, and it's nice because, you could do a Joffrey tour of different programs in the summer and get completely different training,
Right.
all under that umbrella.
And so what's the website again?
JoffreyBalletSchool.com.
JoffreyBalletSchool.com. So if you would like to go to Joffrey Ballet School Summer Intensive, you can click on our website and it'll take you right to them. I really, really appreciate you having you here, and I really, really am excited that you will be a part of Teen Dance Challenge Season 2. And thanks everybody for joining us today. I want to thank Josie Walsh for stopping by, and remember to subscribe now on YouTube at Teen Dance Challenge and to catch all our new episodes. And you can see Season 1. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Teen Dance Challenge and Twitter. I guess that's it. Producer Matt, is that it? All right, as always, I'm Tyson Garner. This is Desiree Gonzalez. See you guys later. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.